Once upon a time in a small town lived a carefree boy named Samir. He was a bright and curious 15-year-old who loved spending his days playing with friends, exploring the nearby woods, and daydreaming about adventures. Life seemed simple to him, and time was something he never paid attention to. His father, Mr. Rahim, was a wise and hard-working man who had built his life around discipline and the careful use of time. Mr. Rahim often observed Samir's careless attitude toward time. He saw how Samir wasted hours in front of the TV, stayed up late, and delayed his schoolwork until the last minute. This worried him deeply. Mr. Rahim had grown up in a different time, where every second counted. He knew that if Samir didn't learn the importance of time, he might miss out on opportunities in the future. One evening, after dinner, Mr. Rahim decided it was time to talk to Samir. "Son, can we have a conversation?" he asked, his voice calm but serious. Samir, slightly curious but mostly uninterested, nodded and sat down. "Sure, Dad. What's up?" Mr. Rahim looked at his son for a moment and then began. "Samir, I've noticed that you don't value time the way you should. You spend your days like you have an unlimited amount of it, but let me tell you, time doesn't work that way. Once a moment is gone, it never comes back." Samir rolled his eyes slightly and said, "Dad, I'm young. I've got all the time in the world. Why worry now?" His father smiled gently. "That's exactly what I thought when I was your age. Let me share a story with you." Samir, now a bit more interested, leaned in as his father began his tale. "When I was about your age, I had a friend named Zane. He was just like you, full of life, always having fun, and never thinking about the future. We both dreamed of becoming successful. But while I worked hard, Zane always thought there would be plenty of time to get serious later. He believed that he could delay things and still achieve everything he wanted. What happened to him?" Samir asked, now fully engaged. Mr. Rahim sighed. "Years pass, and I worked my way through school, college, and eventually my career. Zane, on the other hand, kept delaying his plans. By the time he realized that time had slipped away, many opportunities were gone. He struggled to catch up, but it was much harder than he imagined. The world moves quickly, Samir, and if you don't move with it, you'll be left behind." Samir sat quietly, absorbing his father's words. Mr. Rahim continued, "I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy your youth, but there's a balance, son. If you spend all your time on things that don't matter, you'll miss out on the things that do. Success doesn't come overnight. It's built on how you use the minutes, hours, and days of your life." Samir frowned, thinking about his own life. He had always assumed that he could fix things later, that there was no rush. But now, hearing his father's story, he started to understand. Time wasn't something he could take for granted. "So, what should I do?" Samir asked hesitantly. Mr. Rahim smiled warmly. "Start small. Make a schedule, set goals, and stick to them. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be consistent. Use your time wisely, and you'll see how much you can achieve. Remember, time is like money. You can spend it wisely or waste it, but once it's gone, you can't get it back." The next morning, Samir woke up with a new perspective. He didn't want to be like Zane, always chasing time that had already slipped away. He decided to start by managing his schoolwork better. Instead of leaving everything to the last minute, he made a study plan. He also set aside time for fun, but made sure it didn't interfere with his responsibilities. Days turned into weeks, and Samir began to notice a difference. He felt more in control, and his grades improved. He had more free time because he wasn't rushing to finish things at the last minute. He even started exploring new hobbies, like reading and learning new skills online. One evening, Samir went to his father, a sense of pride in his voice. "Dad, I think I finally understand what you meant. It's not about having time. It's about how you use it." Mr. Rahim smiled, patting his son on the back. "I'm proud of you, Samir. You've taken the first step toward success. Remember, this is just the beginning. Keep valuing your time, and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve." Samir nodded, feeling more motivated than ever. He realized that time was his most valuable asset, and from that day forward, he promised himself that he would never waste it again. And so, Samir grew, not only in age but in wisdom. He learned that success wasn't just about talent or luck. It was about how wisely he used the time given to him. Every day became an opportunity. Every minute a stepping stone toward a brighter future. Once upon a